Good evening. Welcome in once again, Monday night. State of the Tigers here on PowerMizzou.com. Coming to you live on YouTube right now, later on all of our podcast channels. Appreciate all of you who are joining us via either platform. Gabe DeArmond here will bring Gerard Hamilton in just a minute. We're going to have Drew King later in the show talking Mizzou football, Mizzou basketball, getting your holiday week started with a little bit of everything here during crossover season. Want to remind you at the beginning, our show every Monday night, usually Monday night anyway, brought to you by James Carlton at State Farm Insurance. You can reach James at carltoninsurance.net. You can give him a call at 314-961-4800. James is my insurance agent. He wants to be your insurance agent. If you get in touch with him, you get a quote from him and you tell him you heard about it on Power Mizzou. He's going to make a small donation to Missouri's Name, Image, and Likeness Fund on your behalf. So that is a win for everybody. Once again, it is carltoninsurance.net, 314-961-4800. You can get in touch with James. Like I said, we're starting talking Mizzou football tonight. That means Gerard Hamilton on your screen. Gerard, what are the biggest tourist attractions on the drive from Columbia to Missouri to Starkville, Mississippi?
I don't know, but I got to.
You didn't see any of them, huh?
No, there wasn't. Definitely nothing I'm used to. But when I was on the way there, I got to stop by Jackson, Tennessee. That was my last stop before I worked here. So not much there, but I thought I was going to go to my little old restaurant, my one restaurant by my place that I thought was decent, get a certain burger. Went in and see they changed the menu. I said, oh, man, there's really nothing for me here now. So I just got to get on the road, man.
There you go. I know it was a lovely weekend in Stark Vegas. Look, we're not going to spend a bunch of time recapping that game. Missouri handed the ball off 117 times. Mississippi State couldn't stop them. Eli Drinkwitz used some bad words, and Missouri got out of Starkville with the win. So that about covers what happened there. But like we were texting on Saturday night after everything that had happened, like Missouri got everything it needed to happen this year. The only thing that didn't happen was they didn't win enough games. Like if we had laid out at the beginning of the season, hey, there's only going to be 4 Big Ten teams that have any chance. Everybody in the SEC is going to lose 2 games. All this stuff is going to, the Big 12 is going to get 1 bid. It all happened. Missouri just one step short. And whether that step was College Station, Columbia, South Carolina, whatever, it was on them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna let y'all know I'm starting off the column tomorrow about that. Just feel kind of bad for them. No, we're supposed to be objection and stuff, but you just feel bad for them. It's just like, so basically the season you needed to have this year, you did it a year too early. In the playoff, right. I guess another way you could look at the playoff came a year too late. And yeah, all the things, if you would have said Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU would all have 3+ losses after the end of the year. Missouri fans would have signed up for that when they seen that schedule with the team they're bringing in. So it just feels kind of like a letdown. But as we've been saying the last few weeks, there's still a lot of good things that could come out of the season. And even if they didn't win, even if they didn't lose 3 games, I think it's more so about how they lost the first 2. And if they were close, one score loss like the South Carolina, or even a 10 or 12 point loss, not necessarily 34 zip or 31 point loss at A&M. They're just closer. They have more of an argument now. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I just kept thinking that win at Mississippi State, it seems okay and cool, but that South Carolina loss, I don't know if there's ever been a loss where it's just like it's still hitting you way after.
Well, Missouri had an image problem this year. Is the problem, right? After that A&M game, their image. Well, even before the A&M game, because they kind of squeaked by Boston College, and that didn't impress anybody. And then they squeaked by Vandy back when everybody thought Vandy was just Vandy. And then they did what they did. Like, I think Missouri went to College Station with people looking for a reason to not believe in them. And then Missouri gave it to them. And they had an image problem with the voter. And that's why, people have gotten mad at me. But that's why it became pretty obvious to me after the Alabama game, like, look, the numbers, the computers, the metrics, the voters, they don't like this team. And whether that was warranted or not, and frankly, when you look at what they did, it kind of was. I think that was Missouri's biggest deal. They just had an image problem from really week 3 on.
Yeah, I just think, and this part is, I mean, it's part opinion, but I mean, Drink literally told me. I asked him, I don't know if it was right after the A&M game, but I asked him on a media day, like, you think you got to establish the run more to do what you want to do? And he told me, no, it's about getting a rhythm with what we're doing. And I get how that makes sense, but if you're this far into the season, something's got to change. And I think everybody was probably thinking, last year they kind of basically they had a bluff. They was playing the first couple of games kind of with their cards real close to the to the chest and stuff like that. Then they were able to do what they wanted to do. After 5 or 6 weeks, though, you got to think there's got to be some type of change or something that says, all right, this is what works. Or even if we don't know if it works, we got to try something else. And they kind of waited a little bit to do it. And now that offense is clicking, but it seems a little late.
So I will have, yeah. At the end of this year, there are going to be two big things for me, two big questions for me, and one of them you just kind of touched on, like why didn't we see the good offense until, like, the offense we've seen the last 2 weeks is the offense we thought we were going to see all year. And I understand, like, Brady was hurt for some of it, like the Alabama game. Hey, that's just one of those days. That's a different deal. But like even when Brady was ostensibly healthy, the offense wasn't very good against Boston College, wasn't very good against Vandy. It just, why did it take so long? And I'm not even talking about like the run pass differential. Just this offense, this is what I thought it was going to be all year, and we didn't see it for a long time.
But it is because of the running thing. I mean, we've seen it. I mean, Nate Noah had what 200 in week 4 from right there. And you should have 200. Should have known, like, okay, we've got something here. We've got a stable of backs that we like, and this is what helps us get going. I don't know. I feel like I'm not going crazy because I know I was right. But early in the year, I remember just saying, like, they start every game trying to pass the ball and do stuff that isn't working. Then they'll come back the very next series and start running the ball and get downfield. And wow, you put up points. I mean, I don't know. I think I put this in my column a couple weeks ago that the Tigers sometimes play with the Chiefs, and they kind of have a stubbornness about them as far as just like, this is what we can do, and we know we can do it. We're going to and try to enforce that instead of sometimes taking what's there. And I think it's just kind of a stubbornness with all the talent and all the continuity this team has. It's just like, we know we can do this, and it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The other thing that I think I'll think about at the end of this year, like, one thing I will give Eli Drinkwitz a lot of credit for is his teams almost never seem to lay down, right? The only time I felt like they did a little bit was that second half at Texas A&M. And it only matters because in retrospect, if you could, instead of 41-10, like you were down 24-0, that game was probably over at halftime. But what if you come back and make it 31-21, right? And hey, yeah, you lost by 10 in College Station, not ideal, but like you could survive that. And then if you win the South Carolina game, I do think it changes everything. Then you're 10-2 with two decent losses. One of them was lopsided, but you lost your starting quarterback. 31-21 at A&M you could sell. It was 41-10 you couldn't sell. And like, that's, again, I give Drinkwitz and this team a lot of credit. That's just, I only think about it because it's something I just haven't really ever seen out of this team.
Yeah, they got heart, and I mean, that's Drink is he's good with kind of keeping them up. He said he wasn't sure of how this team was going to react after the South Carolina game, but when you think about who they got at quarterback and the heart he's shown in his 3 years as a starter, I mean, it doesn't surprise me too much. Like, once you put it in perspective like that, like, this team, the brotherhood stuff and all that, as much as we're annoyed hearing it every couple of seconds, it seems like it's a true thing, and they use that as the foundation for what they're striving for, what they're going to work towards, and all that good stuff. So yeah, they never quit for real.
Yeah. So look, they got one left. Arkansas. I think Arkansas. If Missouri doesn't come out and play well, Arkansas is good enough to make them pay. I mean,
I
I,
mean,
I don't think Arkansas is great, but they've got guys.
yeah, and I mean, we just seen an Oklahoma team that couldn't do anything a few weeks ago.
Right.
Oh, well, I mean, they did stuff at the end, but we just seen that team blow out Alabama. So that middle of the pack, even the bottom tier of the SEC. I mean, I think there's 13 teams right now that are bowl eligible in the SEC, and if Auburn wins the Iron Bowl, which even on their bad years, they can still, they're really
Right.
close to winning some of those games. So you can have 14 teams make a bowl game. I mean, that Missouri better not be sleepwalking in this game. They're better than Mississippi State. They'll take
Right.
advantage of
Like Arkansas is probably the 13th best team in this league. They've beaten Tennessee this year. Auburn is probably the 14th best team in this league. They just beat Texas A&M. Kentucky is the 15th best team in this league.
They beat Ole Miss.
They beat Ole Miss. Like Mississippi State's literally the only team. And like, look, I kind of make fun of it. I get tired of it, but that is the difference in the SEC. Like, you go play at the 14th place team in the Big Ten, there's no chance you're losing that game, right? You play Arizona this year, you're not getting beat by Arizona. You go play, I don't know, Wake Forest, you're winning that game if you're one of the top teams in the league, and that is the difference between the SEC and everything else. But like you were talking at the beginning, how you feel, how you feel a little bad for Missouri. Here's the thing: I actually think this is easier to take for Missouri fans than some other fan bases because like I don't think a lot of Missouri fans really, after watching this team this year, felt like this was a playoff team. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, I'm losing my mind because I lost to Kentucky, who's awful. And then I lost a game at LSU that I led up and that I did not trail until the last play of the game. And then I lost a game where if my coach just kicks field goals, I'm probably in the college football playoff. And he refused to do it. And they blew 4 downs and they lost to Florida. Like, and Ole Miss and Missouri are very similar. Like the chances don't come around very often. If I'm an Ole Miss fan, man, I'm going to look at that for a long time and feel like that was a missed opportunity. Like in some ways, I think it's harder to be that close. And not like Missouri was far away, but I don't ever feel like Missouri fans never hit the point this season where they were like, man, change one play and it's all different, right? It seemed a little further away. I, I would be sick if I was an Ole Miss fan this week.
I get you. More so, it's saying like for Missouri fans, it's you have to change a couple games. For Ole Miss,
Right.
it's a handful of plays. Right, right. Um, I mean, I can get that, and again, for Missouri, we talked about this. Like at the very least, the floor of this program is moving up. You go from
Oh,
three
yeah.
straight 500, win season type of seasons to at the baseline. If the season ends now, or if you don't win nothing else, you win 8 games, you can sell that. Like, and I know again, not what everybody wants to hear, but long term, at least you got that going for you. And so,
And I think you should come back next year and expect to win at least 8 games. And like, I don't think there's any reason if they get quarterback right, I don't think there's any reason Missouri can't be back in this position next year.
on top of that, as we've seen, like when these rankings come out tomorrow, I mean, I don't, I haven't looked at every single team who's lost, but they'll be, probably rise
They
up.
should be about 20, I
Yeah.
think.
So the fact that, you got 8 wins, you're 8-3 going into the final game of the regular season. When you add in these rankings, for the last 2 years, there hasn't been a rankings where they were not in it. I don't believe so. So I feel like all last
Not
year,
college football playoff. Yeah, there was
yeah,
one week where they were out of the AP and the
yeah, but for the
coaches
CF,
poll, but that's it.
yeah, but for the CFP, yeah, you've been ranked.
Mhm.
Last 2 years, you can sell that too. So not what you want to hear, but that's better than no one ever talking about you. This is probably
Right.
the most talk they've gotten in quite some time. So there's still some positives, but again, like we were just talking, going back to Arkansas, this ain't Mississippi State. You like
Right.
don't sleep on that. And also the trophy thing, it doesn't sound like much to everybody on outside, but for these teams, those trophies, whenever they're on the line, it's a real thing.
It's a super obnoxious trophy, by the way. It's like 6 feet
It
tall.
is huge. It
Yeah.
is huge.
Um, All right, Freeway Jared with the super chat. Thankful for Mama's Greens, dark meat turkey, sweet potato pie, bourbon, and Power Mizzou coverage. I
So you're
like at
going
least a
crazy.
couple of those things.
Uh, man, I can't wait. The game ain't on Black Friday this time. I can actually eat and be in a food coma as long as I want the next day. No early wake up calls, none of that.
All right, so are you cooking? Is your girlfriend cooking? How's this work?
um, she's gonna cook. Her auntie's gonna. Everybody's gonna cook. All they asked me to do was put in some money in towards the grocery. I said, "Oh, that's easy.
Oh,
I get to watch football and not." Yo, y'all got. I put in a little bit more for y'all actually. So I'm cool.
that's just to stay the hell out of our way for the day.
See, you don't got to ask me twice. That's you gotta throw Gabe. You gotta throw the fake. I can make something.
Right, you got to make the offer.
I can make some. But honestly, you know how I like to be a clean person. So I'll probably end up cleaning or whatever. That's really the payoff.
That's your contribution. Yeah,
Right.
that's the hard part too. But Jared, we appreciate it, man, for you always hanging out here and the super chat. Let's go ahead and all right, before we get to some of the questions and stuff, we're gonna bring Drew in about 20 minutes. But the other topic we had was just kind of general college football playoff talk. I think you had said like what college football playoff matchups do you want to see? So I'm going to let you go first because I've got my answer and it's going to make everybody really bad.
Well, I'm interested to hear yours now because I was just like, yeah, let's do this. I haven't put totally too much
You haven't
thought.
thought about it? Okay, I'll go first then. So I am rooting for the underdog in every single game. I want Indiana to play Arizona State for the national championship. I will root against. I don't want Notre Dame to win a game. I don't want Penn State to win a game. I don't want Ohio State to win a game. I don't want Georgia to win a game. I don't want Tennessee to win it. I will root against all those teams. I want Arizona State, Indiana, SMU if they get in there, Boise. That's what I want the Final Four to be. I want the Final Four to be the Big 12 champ, the ACC champ, Boise State, and Indiana. That's what I'm rooting for.
And so, if you could pick, who would be the ideal team in your scenario that wins it all out of all of that?
Probably Boise or Indiana. I'd be a big fan of that.
Oh my goodness! I will say there. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago. There was a point where it was Alabama and Indiana, but it was Alabama traveling to Bloomington. I'd enjoy that. Like that'd be first off. I don't know about y'all, but I don't know what Indiana Stadium looked like. I haven't got to I haven't got to watch them play at all this year, and so like I just want to see how that environment looks like.
Missouri played there one time. I want to say 2014. I did not go, but Missouri did play there.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to see what a big team like the ones we always see in the SEC that always has the national TV games. Go to an Indiana or something and see what real quick. Andrew says they were like, do not let Gerard touch the stove. Now your boy can cook. I could cook a little bit. Do I want to? Not really. And they can cook better than me, so I'm gonna let them have it. I'm not gonna argue to do work. But I think I haven't thought of no crazy scenario like that. I mean, I just think like I still want to see Texas be tested, and we're going to see that I guess this week when they face A&M. But like Texas, Ohio State, I don't know. I told y'all how my dad likes Ohio State. He's from around that way. Just want to see them. And then Texas, I think their fans can be obnoxious at times, but they've
just
been
a little bit.
They've been bad since or mid at best since like Colt McCoy. It feels like outside of last year. So
right.
Well, whatever. I like to see that. That doesn't have to be the championship. Just somewhere in there, fit that in there. As far as like the teams, we're not thinking SMU. If SMU can get in there, like the fact that are they not paying their way into the ACC this year?
Oh yeah.
So you're paying, and you still beating up the conference. I think that's impressive. Miami, just because for people like me who were toddlers or babies when they were hitting their second peak again, because in the 80s they obviously did it. So when those Ed Reed teams are doing their things, I mean, I don't really know about them. So it'd just be off the strength of that. Like I want to see how Miami fans get out there and What else is a good team?
Yeah, I'll root against them. I don't want them to win a game.
You know what?
Basically, any popular team, I don't want them to win a game.
I just feel like for me, it feels like a history lesson. So if Missouri's not going to be in there, I like to see what all this like the hype and stuff was about and stuff see documentaries and stories about. Like I just interested in how that would look, in this time.
We are rooting for an exact opposite college football playoff. I'm rooting for every blue blood to lose in the first game they play.
They don't have to win. I'm just trying to see
games.
You
just want to see it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for anybody. I don't care who wins, to be honest. I just want to see. Back to the Indiana thing, I heard. I think it was on the College Football Inquirer. They got so many guys from James Madison on their team. That's a nice little underdog story. They just got all these, these guys who've worked, got it the hard way. And something else I want to tell you. So at Mississippi State, right before the game, obviously, they're showing Jackson Dart throw an egregious interception. I couldn't tell.
Which one?
The very last one that really ended it.
Yeah.
And the loudest ovation of the day was stupid cowbells going crazy to see Ole Miss lost.
I'm sure.
That was bigger than anything they did on
100%.
And the thing is, technically they were leading 3-0. Didn't hear the cowbells or nothing be as loud as Ole Miss losing. So
for sure. Hey, that's a very underrated college football rivalry. There is no question. So, all right, let's get to some of the questions in the chat. Mike says, if Mizzou wins, how many minutes after the game will Brady remain on the field? So this just gave me this question just made me really unhappy because I didn't even think about it. Brady's going to be one of the guys that does media after the game on Saturday. It's going to take so long for press conferences to start after that game if Missouri wins. The seniors are going to be out there for 6 hours. It's a 2:30 game, and we're not going to leave till 11 because it's going to take so long.
You know what 11 would be? Let me see how long it takes. Oh, you mean leave the stadium or just leave the?
Yeah, I mean leave the stadium.
When's the game's at 2:30? 3.
Game should end at 6.
You know what? That doesn't sound as bad. I feel like I have 12-hour days regardless, so that doesn't sound actually that bad to me. I would like it earlier if possible, but yeah, they all got to collect the rocks, do the picture.
Yeah, but no, Brady might sleep out there on Saturday.
He may eat the grass. I mean, I know that boy love it.
He's going to go full Les Miles.
Yeah, I mean, he loves him some Furrow Field and some Mizzou, and as he should. He's literally put his life on the line way too many times. So I get it.
And look, we talked about Senior Day. I'm kind of I like Senior Day. It's good stuff. I like the pageantry of it. So we've had this. I didn't tell you we were going to talk about this. We've had this conversation. I wrote about it a little bit. I think Luther Burden should walk on Senior Day. I know that you don't necessarily agree with that, but if he wants to, I think I don't know if he wants to. He may not want to do it, but I think if he wants to, you absolutely let him do it.
Man, I get it, and I didn't know this was something they were doing previously, but I thought it was more of a if this is the first time I ever let him do it. My thing is, it's not that I don't think he should be honored. He should be. I'm just saying at the same moment. I mean, there's whether it be final substitution or halftime. I don't know. When do they do the same? Is the senior thing before the game or halftime?
It's usually before the game.
Okay, so yeah, halftime. If they want to do that while they're warming up again or right after, I don't know. It's not a senior, but because they already do it and I get it, he's worthy of his own thing. That's really not the problem. It's just he's not a senior. If you want a senior thing, stay and be a senior per se. I understand why that's not going to happen, but I'm just saying. But I mean, definitely deserves it. He helped put this team on the map in a different way that always doesn't happen. So
yeah. So we were one of the things we were talking about is all right. Of the guys who are seniors, and we're taking Brady Cook out of this conversation because we know you need a starting quarterback. The starting quarterback's the hardest guy to replace. So we're not talking about him. But of the other guys who we know are leaving, what do you think is the toughest thing for Missouri to replace? Whether it's a position, whether it's one player, whatever. What do you think they're losing off this team that is the hardest thing for them to replace?
I don't know if this would be the hardest, but it's typically hard to get. It's pass rusher. If is this Johnny Walker's last go around, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, this is it.
anytime you can get a pass rusher in the portal, it's not easy. And every time I see Kyle Kanar of South Carolina, I remember he was on Mizzou's list
Yeah,
and guy from Georgia Tech, and they ended up getting his former teammate Eddie Kelly, who's had his moments, but Kyle Kennard is literally one of the best defensive ends in the entire league. So, yeah, if you can get somebody to replace Johnny Walker, I'm trying to think of why is my mind blanking? Who's opposite of him? They've just had so many injuries. I don't know why my mind's
Zion Young.
yeah. Oh, well, Zion's been good. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, you definitely need a true DE1 because it's not that Johnny is it. It just took a long, like the offense. It took kind of a while for us to be like, where's
yeah.
the pressure and the pass rush and all that stuff. Didn't start getting going until this last 3 or 4 games. So I say Johnny Walker.
So this just kind of occurred to me earlier today when I was thinking about this question. I'm really interested to see linebacker because we know Chuck Hicks is gone. We know Corey Flagg's gone, and I'm pretty sure Tristan Newsom is gone.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Like Khalil Jacobs is coming back, but he's coming
He's
off an
coming
injury. I know you got Nick Rodriguez, but like as far as one position, that's a lot right there.
Yeah. Although to be honest, I think Jeremiah Beasley may be ahead of Nick Rodriguez as far as
Yeah,
defensive snaps. And
yeah.
I think he played and recorded a couple tackles in his last game. But yeah, you've got a young linebacker room. You don't got nobody who's as far as veteran wise, like who's played and
I
knows
mean, Khalil Jacobs is your veteran, and he played 4.5 games here.
well, yeah, and he does know that. I was about to say who knows the scheme, but his
Yeah.
South Alabama stuff, he does know the scheme. So I mean, you've got that, but yeah, you've got to fill in pieces around them. Um, yeah, that's definitely gonna be a tough one. I'm trying to think of defensive tackle, maybe was that Christian Williams? You got McClellan back,
Christian Williams. McClellan should be back. I mean, anything can happen, but
right?
Sterling Webb's played a lot. Marquise Graciel's played a lot. Jalen Marshall's played a lot. So they got guys there. They need to get better.
Well, I think
Like
as
they
long as
need to take a step forward, is what I'm saying, which you would expect them to do.
well, we've had this talk before. You can expect year over year that this is going to improve and this is going to improve. I'm thinking right
Right.
now, just
Not
what they
everything's going to improve.
yeah. I mean, if they take a step forward, then you'll be fine. But as of now,
Yeah.
we don't know exactly what that looks like. So I'm just thinking of right now. And obviously, running back. I know we said like play your
Yeah.
stable backs and all that stuff. And that makes sense. But it's hard for me to believe that they're not going to get a veteran back, whether that's first string or second, whatever role that is, that they're not going to get one.
Right. Well, and like replacing a guy that's leaving, like replacing Nate Noel, that could just be Keywan Lacey. But like we're not saying you have to go in the portal to replace him, but he's not going to be here next year. We know that, so somebody's got to step into that. And that's like looking back, I think if Nate Noel's healthy, I think this year looks a little bit different. Like
I
I underestimated how important Nate Noel was to this team until the last couple of weeks.
he's on any day, he's the best offensive player. Not the most
Yeah.
talented. How y'all going? Not the most
Right.
talented,
Right.
but he's the most consistent, productive player when he's healthy. I mean, we seen it last week, but um this week even 25 for 95, and we were talking about the load management he's had since fall camp.
Right.
He can take those reps and he can keep going and he can be that is it bell cow, back.
Mm-hmm.
But that's gonna be tough. Yeah, they can replace Lacey. I mean, they can replace him with Lacey and have Roberts take on more of a role that Carroll has. But I'm just saying, I feel like they found something with this three running back thing, having the third
Yeah.
down, having a goal line back, having a change of pace back. So whatever role they feel they can find in the portal, they may do that.
Yeah. Connor says give Dalen Carnell a bag to return next season. I think he's a very strong candidate for, hey, NIL, keep you in college one more year when maybe you could go and be, a later round pick, but NIL is useful there. I think NIL is useful for Armand Nimbo, who my early impressions are he's coming back probably.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
helpful.
yeah, I think Connor Tollison's back. Like,
Uh,
I don't really look on this team and find an underclassman outside of Luther Burden that I think goes. Anybody come to your mind? Because I think Armand's going to come back, and I think you could give Carnell and like
I was about to
Chris McClellan's not ready to go pro. I don't think.
he has one more year like this.
Could
Yeah, if he has one more year like this, he could because his size. I
right,
mean,
like he's eligible
it,
to, but I don't see
yeah,
that happening
yeah.
yet.
I mean, I think he showed a lot this year. I think
He's
if you
been good.
and considering his position and his size and stuff like that, if he's always in shape, you're not asking your defensive tackle to get 50 tackles a year. At least not. We're not talking
Yeah.
about rookies. If you got an Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, I'm not talking about you. But yeah, he can plug up holes and stuff like that. But yeah, he stays. So um, I think they're fine. I see someone Sam. What about our secondary? I wrote about that in the column that's coming out tomorrow. They got to do some work in that secondary. I got a
Yeah.
table and
Oh yeah.
everything filled out. And I think let's see, they're losing for sure Charleston, Clark, Williams, Sidney Williams,
Gervais.
and Trevez Johnson, and then they keep all their cornerbacks. As far as the rotation, so I'm talking about the top
Right.
three cornerbacks. They're keeping Burks, and we don't know what Carnell's situation is, but it's been a struggle at cornerback. And to be honest, when I think about the cornerback room, I think they're bad for where they are on the depth chart. I don't actually think they're bad players. Like Dre Norwood at CB3, really good. And I think if he was your CB2 and he had another person alongside him, like if Ennis or KAD, you'd say I think he'd be a little bit better. But as a CB1, not the greatest. Maybe if Toriano and Deloach are not necessarily sharing the CB2 thing, but CB3, CB4, where they give you spot snaps or something like that, you can use their skill sets in a different way.
All right. So last thing, because Drew's in the green room, we'll get him in a minute. But I've seen 2 or 3 people ask this. So, who do you want to see Mizzou play in a bowl game? Like, you can just pick. I don't even care if the matchup is like realistic necessarily. Like, you don't have to say, "Hey, in the Music City Bowl, I want him to play this." But who would you like to see of the teams that like we think there's somewhat of a chance they could go somewhere and play this team? Who would you want to play?
Um, Notwithstanding the CFP and all that, if a team loses once or twice or have this scenario, if they faced an SMU or Indiana, again, a team I haven't seen play, but it's got all this hype or something, like I want to see what they do against them. It'd be
So
funny. Um,
I think I watched Indiana play last week. I think Indiana, like I would pick Missouri to beat Indiana. I think Missouri's a better football team than Indiana.
oh, that's cool. I mean,
And I know that's kind of nuts. Like Indiana was number 5 in the country and all that. But like I really do. But no, that'd be an interesting matchup.
um, I don't know. So you said Arizona
Kurt
earlier.
Signetti and Eli Drinkwitz would talk so much shit back and forth that week. The press conferences would be great.
I like that. I like people who make chips on their shoulders for,
Yep.
for any
Yep.
reason.
Just make them.
Arizona, I haven't heard of. I just heard you bring them up. I'm assuming they are not good. I haven't
I
thought
don't
about
think they
them.
can make a bowl game.
Oh, okay, they're that bad. I literally, to be honest though, I haven't literally thought about anything Arizona related since uh McMillan had the 300-yard game to start.
Right.
Then they just,
Neither have Arizona fans.
yeah, Arizona State. I like their running back. Is it Scatabo?
Scattaboo. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
nice. I seen Arizona play a game earlier this year. I like them. Although their game management this last game, what I was
Yeah.
nuts. I don't know
Yeah.
what that's about.
So I've got 2 teams that I want Missouri to play in a bowl game. I think Clemson would be cool. I think that'd be like look that's all you have nothing to lose, everything to gain. It's kind of like last year when they went to play Ohio State, right? You lose to Ohio State, there's no shame. That's not a bad year, bad end of the season, anything like that. Clemson and the Gator Bowl, I think would be a really good matchup or really interesting matchup for Missouri. The other one is going to make people mad. I do this purely for selfish reasons. Look, I root for me. I want good stories. There is no better story in a bowl game than Missouri playing UNLV. Barry
Mm,
Odom, Eli Drinkwitz,
mm,
easy stories to write.
mm.
So I don't know what bowl that would be. I don't even know if it can happen. But like, it would be very interesting. I think most Missouri fans would not want to see that.
Yeah. Oh well, let me add in let's get Colorado in there just because whatever bowl game
Yeah,
it is, they're gonna turn that into a CFP bowl.
it
That's gonna
would
be
be.
CFP as far as the hype and all this extra media that'll probably be around for it. Uh,
Here's the only problem with playing Colorado. Shador's not going to play, and Travis Hunter's not going to play.
that is true.
So you're
Unfortunately.
not really playing Colorado.
Well, then I don't. I I like Dion, but I don't know if I just want to see
Yeah.
Dion. To be
All
honest.
right, so we're gonna pop Drew King in here real quick, so you guys can have the Thanksgiving crossover. Gerard was told that he did not have to be in the kitchen at all on Thanksgiving Day. He just gave him like $20 and went and watched football all day. So what's your assignment this week? I know you just got back to lovely Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler, Texas here. I think either tomorrow or the day after, we gotta go pick up our world famous Greenberg turkey, which is one of Oprah's favorite things, and then those come like already ready to eat. So
Oh,
I ain't gotta do much there.
It's like
I'll
already
probably
cooked.
yeah, they smoke it. Yeah, it's a smoked turkey.
Okay.
So
wow.
Okay.
you just got to let it kind of get back to room temperature and you're ready to go. I'll probably make some kind of potato dish, maybe some cookies. I know my dad was a big fan of the ones I made last week, so might have to recreate those.
There you
More of
go.
a contribution than me, so you do your thing.
All right, Gerard, we're gonna let you roll, man. Appreciate it. And dude, it feels like 2 weeks ago the football season started, last one. So
Yeah. See you
That's
tomorrow.
Thanksgiving.
Oh, man.
all right, Gerard, we'll see you, man. Have a good one.
See y'all.
All right, bring Drew up full screen now. Let's
I had
switch
to,
to basketball, guys. We got
I had to bring a party
the
popper with me.
the
Sorry.
party poppers. So if you got basketball questions, throw them in the chat. We'll get to them. We're going to spend about 15, 20 minutes here with Drew, who had I don't know, 8-9 hour drive to Texas today. Is that about right?
Yeah, about 10. Yeah, that's correct.
Sounds lovely. Yeah. Gerard got to go to Starkville last weekend. At least you have a good meal waiting at home. So
I just
we
had
discussed
Whataburger actually too.
Oh, now that should be Thanksgiving dinner.
There we
Forget
go.
the famous turkey. Just go get Whataburger.
Yeah.
So while you were driving, Memphis beat Connecticut. That means Missouri's winning the national title, right?
It's got to.
Is that how that works?
I think so. I saw like it seemed like there were some controversial calls in that Memphis UConn game, but a win's a win.
There were a
You know
bunch
what I
of
mean?
them.
Yeah. So the only way Mizzou doesn't win the national championship now is if they face Memphis in the national title game, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yes,
Yeah.
then they might be national runner-up. Yes,
Yeah.
but no, that game, it had a couple of bad calls both ways. It ultimately turned on a Danny Hurley technical. I know he goes by Dan now. He's always just going to be Danny to me. That's what I'm going to call him. Look, he's a great coach. I don't think there's anybody in college basketball I like less. Like,
Really?
just watching a game that he coaches makes me very angry, and I dislike him very much.
I get it. I can see how he rubs people the wrong way for sure. I mean, I'm sure
after the game, when he was asked if his technical lost the game, he said, "No, I think the shitty calls lost the game," which major credit for a great quote, but it does not make me like him anymore.
That makes me like him a little bit more. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay. Well, I mean, he didn't say he wanted to call his own fouls, like Dennis said.
Exactly. So like, I don't know. I would like Dennis to up his game a little bit more. I saw something where he was like, "Yeah, I was giving Oppenheimer out there." Like, imagine Dennis Gates saying, "I was giving an Oppenheimer performance."
I know. Look, Hurley might give a great quote. I don't like him. I don't root for him. He makes me angry to watch him coach a game. I just don't enjoy him. All right, so we have not seen Missouri play anybody like Memphis or UConn. But like, does it seriously though? The fact that Memphis just went out and beat Connecticut in a game that Connecticut played well, like, does that change our opinion of Missouri?
Not especially, just because, like, I want to see what Missouri looks like against a Memphis level team again after kind of ramping up after through these past couple of games, right? Because that Memphis second half looked like it had all the same issues from last season's team, and now it seems like they've covered up some of those, but it's against the Mississippi Valley State and Arkansas Pine Bluffs of the world. It's not exactly a murderer's row. So if you ran that game back, like how confident are you that the result's going to be any different? I don't know that my opinion's changed all that much.
Well, I want to shout out Sam for the super chat, and he deserves credit. He apparently the last Mizzou basketball game he had gone to was Jackson State, so he went back for Arkansas Pine Bluff, and this one turned out a little bit better. So, Sam, you were allowed to go to future games in Mizzou Arena now. Had they lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff, I would have personally made sure you were not allowed back in the building anymore.
Hang some posters with his picture on them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Memphis is maybe Memphis is better than I thought they were, which does. And again, it doesn't excuse the second half of it, but it makes me think, well, hang on. If Missouri was 15 points up on that team, like maybe the ceiling's a little higher than I had thought it was.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think, we kind of knew Memphis was a really talented team, right? Like they have Tyrese Hunter, they have the two big men, right? A lot of the dings that we were counting against Memphis was more off the court stuff than anything, right? It was all the coaching moves. It was Tyreek Smith leaving like a week before the season started, right? So like Memphis, we knew was still had some guys on their squad. We just weren't sure how much like all of the offseason drama was going to impact that game. Turns out it didn't. It hasn't impacted them that much at all if they're beating UConn out the gates. So, yeah, like, I don't know that my opinion has changed too much just because, like, it's the same Memphis team.
Right.
And maybe they are a little bit better than maybe we expected, but we still got to see Missouri do it against somebody of higher quality.
So along those lines, Tad wants to know, is there any benefit for Mizzou having played all these cupcakes?
Yeah, I would say that, like, we're not going to see T.O. Barrett out there against Cal or Kansas. We might have never seen Marcus Allen or Honor Boateng against a Kansas level team or a Memphis level team, right? So I think
we didn't see him against a Memphis level team.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of the benefit of trying to get these easier opponents in early on, is that it's allowed him to empty the bench and see what guys like Trent Pierce and Jacob Cruz and Marcus Allen and Honor Boateng, all of those wings who, like night to night, you're not sure who's going to play the most out of that group. So yeah, I think that's the main benefit of it.
So I know you were traveling today, so I do not expect you to have been driving down I-35 reading my 10 thoughts this morning. But here's what I said. I think the rotation is likely to be. I said I think the first four guys that are not necessarily starters, but like they're the four guys that are going to play the most minutes are Mark Mitchell, Tamar Bates, Anthony Robinson, Caleb Grill. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, then I said, then I think, like, I didn't make it a starting five because I think it depends on matchups. But there's a next group that, like, okay, depending on what the matchup is, what the situation is, any of these guys could kind of join that group of four at any given time. That's Tony Perkins, Josh Gray, Marquez Warwick, Aiden Shaw, and I am bordering on including Trent Pierce in that group.
Yeah, I think that's valid. And I might even throw Marcus Allen in that group too. Like he's looked pretty good in the couple of moments they've given him.
Yeah, I put Marcus Allen, Honor Boating, and Jacob Cruz in they're going to play, but I just don't think they're going to be like regular double-digit minute types of guy. Like there will be a game or two here or there where they are, but like I just think those are guys like 10 through 12 on this team.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And you had Marquez Warwick in the second group?
Yeah, in the second group. Like I probably more than anybody else over the last 3 or 4 games, I've thought, okay, I like what I see out of this guy. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, he started off 0 for 5 from 3 and is now shooting 40% from deep. Like that's a pretty good bounce back from him, I think.
We don't even notice because Caleb Grill is shooting 97% from 3
exactly.
this year. Which brings us to 2 questions. First of all, Connor says, do we expect Grill to replace Boating in the starting lineup? And no, I think they want him to come off the bench is the impression I get.
Dennis Gates said flat out he's not going to change the starting lineup at this point because he likes the look of having Caleb come off the bench. He said that Caleb actually lost his starting spot after that Memphis game. And so, and I think as though he isn't playing a ton, he does like Honor Boateng kind of getting the confidence of being in that starting group. So yeah, I don't expect the starting 5 to change till he doesn't like the look anymore. Yeah.
Right. Like coaches are weird that way. Like, hey, this lineup won a game. This is going to be my lineup until it doesn't win a game. And then I'm willing to try something else, but I'm not going to try something else while it's working.
Yeah.
So along the Caleb Grill lines, this is the other like revisionist history thing. John Tonje, many people are saying this, Drew. Best transfer in the country, averaging 23.5 points a game for Wisconsin. Caleb Grill, 15.5 for Missouri, shooting, like I said, about 70%. Were we too dismissive of Dennis Gates when he talked about the injuries last year?
It seems like it.
I mean, hand raised. Yeah. I thought it was. I put zero stock in it. I said, look, I don't know if either of those guys are even any good. Yeah. Because I hadn't seen any proof they were. It appears they both might be good.
Yeah, like John Tonje absolutely lighting it up at Wisconsin. They probably could have used him last season. Because you think about it, Gabe, like Tamar Bates was.
They could have used you last season, Drew.
Yeah, it's fair. No, I'm kidding.
You know, but yeah, no, you're right though. Tamar Bates was the 6th man. That was the idea.
Tamar Bates was supposed to come off the bench, and he ended up having to be the second option, just because there was nobody else available. And then like Caleb Grill, kind of like this season, got off to a really rough start from 3 in those first 2 games. I think he was like 1 for 15, but then after that he wasn't shooting 97%, but he was shooting 36%, which is like his career average, and probably could have helped them win a couple of games. So I think they still would have had some issues with, Noah Carter at the 4 playing as much as he did and not really having an option at the 5, but they would have been significantly better than 0-18.
Right, and that's the key. Like, none of us are saying Missouri's a tournament team with Grill and Tonje last year. I don't think we believe they make a 14-game difference or whatever. But you know what they do? They win like 5 SEC games at least. Mm-hmm. And if Dennis Gates in year 2 goes 13-18, 5-13 in the SEC, nobody's thrilled, but it's not what last year. Like, he is not. The attitude toward this program is not what it is after 0-18. Like, just winning 5 or 6 games would have changed so much about the outlook going into this year. And yeah, I think like it's fair to say, hey, Caleb Grill and John Tonje are actually good Division I basketball players, which I did not put enough stock in last year.
Yeah, and like even coming into that season, like I don't know that I think part of the issue is that we had never seen this level of play from either guy before, right? John Tonje was coming from Colorado State. I don't think anybody expected him to put up 20 points for a Big Ten team. I don't know that anybody expected.
Well, I mean, I don't think Wisconsin expected that.
Yeah, for sure. And like I don't know that the plan for this season was necessarily for Caleb Grill to be the leading scorer, but here we are. So yeah, like I think that you have to buy into a little bit more and give Dennis a little bit more credit when he says like injuries really did impact us last year.
And look, again, I think he talked about it a little too much. Like I always say,
Yeah.
Every time a coach says, now this isn't an excuse, what's coming next is an excuse, right? And fans don't want to hear excuses. So I think he brought it up a little too much, but I think we should have paid a little more attention to him as well. So kind of finish up here. Go ahead.
Just to add to that, like, what are you supposed to say in that spot, right? I know it's not an excuse. But like, if you're trying to give an explanation for what's happening, like I don't know what else he was supposed to say.
Yeah, I don't know. He said it a lot. It seems like
that's
to me. I mean, that's all I'm saying. But again, it maybe it's valid. Okay, so kind of finish up. You'd said, I mean, unless you want to do an in-depth Lindenwood breakdown, do you want to do that, or
I have no thoughts on Lindenwood. I have one.
I will have no thoughts on Lindenwood after watching them play on Wednesday night.
My one thought on Lindenwood: they have a win this season over St. Louis Pharmacy.
Oh, that's who it was. Okay.
Yes. That's my one thought on Lindenwood.
Hey, look out! We're gonna get them on the Missouri non-conference schedule next year. So you had said like we need to see Missouri against another like Memphis type team, right? So when is that? Like what? I don't think Cal's that. I don't know that Cal's a Big Ten. Like if Missouri loses to Cal at home, I think I'm going to kind of say, guys, this ain't going to be great.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Kansas is like they're more than a Memphis level team. Like if Missouri loses to Kansas, whatever. I fully expect them to lose to Kansas. So like I really think it's Illinois before I get a good idea.
Yeah, but isn't that how it is every year, Gabe?
Mostly because I just voluntarily don't pay attention until Illinois. So that's part of it. No, that's a good point. But like I guess my point is they've got 2 games against power conference teams coming up, but Cal is one that I look at and say they should win. In Kansas, like don't get me wrong, they beat Kansas. Okay, that's going to answer a question for me, right? But if Kansas goes the way I kind of think it's going to go, then I'm not sure I learned anything there either.
Yeah. So to give some credit to Cal, they did pick up a win against USC earlier this year. USC's not all that great either, but it is a high major team at least. They also lost by 17 to Vanderbilt. So
I think Vanderbilt's decent.
We'll see. I'm still a little skeptical, but that's just me.
Yeah.
But
look, I don't think they're great. They're decent, but I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Andrew Kessel says Drew to Drew, they're going to beat KU. So
shouts to Drew. With the KU game, I think that you can still learn some things from it.
Oh yeah,
like if Mizzou keeps it close, like if it's 10 points or single digits for most of the game, like that's a pretty good sign, I think, for the Tigers, because Kansas is going to be pretty good again this year.
Breaking,
but but Cal, like if they come out and beat the brakes off Cal, I think that's a pretty good sign. If it's just a 12-point win at home against Cal, like, are you feeling great about Mizzou? I don't know, Gabe.
Depends on how it unfolds.
Yeah, and so like you can learn some things from these upcoming high major opponents. I just know, but like you said, like Illinois is more on the level that Mizzou's trying to be at right now. So I think that's going to be more of the real test coming up for them.
Yeah, I guess that to me is the best measuring stick. It's not that we can't learn anything in the other ones, but that one's the one that I go into with less of a predestined idea of what I think will happen.
Yeah, I agree.
You'd asked earlier what Gates was supposed to say. I like this from Jason, interviewer, Coach, why do you suck? coach because I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, what do you think would happen if we just walked into a press conference, not just with Dennis Gates, just with anybody, and go, Coach, why do you suck?
Well, he would
How do you
probably
think that
tell
would
you
be
why.
taken?
He would probably start off saying, well, you know, I don't think we suck. I think our team's very unselfish. I think Josh Gray, you know, didn't pout when we sat him in the second half. I think Mark Mitchell took it on the chin when he only played 18 minutes against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
And then
just
he will
not
talk
answer the
for a
question.
long time.
Yeah.
I will say this. If I ever were to walk into any coach's press conference and my question was, why do you suck? I hope what the coach would say is, I'm going to tell you why you suck. And then he would just go on. That would be an excellent way to. But I do feel like sometimes that's what people want us to ask these coaches. You don't ask the hard questions. What's the hard question? We'll just ask him why he sucks.
Yeah.
So we'll maybe work on that for next time. I doubt that's it's not going to be the lead. It might be the second or third question at some point, but it's not going to be the opener. You gotta kind of butter them up first with hey, what did you think about Anthony Robinson's 7 assists before you ask why they suck.
Yeah, it's I don't like thinking back on last year. This too painful.
I feel like we're kind of falling apart here. See, Magic Man wants me to ask Eli Drinkwitz why he sucks. I don't know. He's like 20-5 the last 2 years. Thought he was doing a good job. I don't know. We need to field crowd questions more often. But
okay, I got a question for you, Gabe. How do you characterize Mizzou winning 3 games in a row by 35 or more for possibly the first time in program history? But against like some rat teams.
But like better than not. I mean, it's like I don't think it means much. But after Howard and Eastern Washington, everybody said, why can't we just blow these teams out? Well, they did blow these teams out. So they've achieved what now that might be a little different on Wednesday night. I mean, you had an intense in-state rivalry here with the Lindenwood Lions. I mean,
coming off a win against St. Louis Pharmacy,
right?
It's a battle for the Show Me State.
That might be a little tougher one for bragging rights, but I don't know. Look, these games are the only thing in these games that matters. Just don't lose, right? Because we saw what happens last year when you lose one. Mm-hmm. So as long as they don't lose, it's mostly okay. Weird things happen in college basketball every year. But yeah, we'll talk in 3 weeks and see what we think of them. And I feel like we'll know a lot more. But look, man, I know you had a long day on the road. Appreciate you hopping on, and you're a man of the people, and they appreciated it.
There you go.
Enjoy Texas. I will blow you up Wednesday night with texts about how happy I am to be covering the game against Lindenwood.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we'll talk to you. That is Drew King, and appreciate him. Appreciate Gerard joining us. Appreciate all you guys hanging out here. So, look, this week is going to be a little bit different. Going to do the opponent preview show on Wednesday. Take Thursday off. We normally do that on Thursday, but obviously I'm not asking somebody to record on Thanksgiving. So be here with you on Wednesday. Media day tomorrow, full week. Appreciate you guys being here. Do want to ask you before you leave, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you know when we go live and all that. And also get in touch with my guy, James Carlton at State Farm in Webster Groves. If you live in Missouri or Illinois, he could take care of all your insurance needs. CarltonInsurance.net. You can get in touch with him at 314-961-4800. Don't call him Thursday. He's going to be eating turkey, watching football, but leave him a voicemail, whatever. James will get back to you. He's going to find you the best rate he can. And also, if you tell him you heard about his agency on Power Mizzou, then he is going to donate some money to the NIL fund. So appreciate you guys hanging out. Again, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. We will be back later in the week. That's it for now.